I coach Michelle Wyatt, head coach of Lady Texans, and coach, it's got almost a month into this regular season here, and I know there was some look early at this team, but I think the turning point, as I looked at it, you went up to that tournament up in Kansas, and you knock off two ranked opponents in that tournament. Take us back to that point and talk a little bit about that tournament and what really led to that surge from Lady Texans.
You know, it has been kind of a turning point in our season, and I think it's just so much as giving the kids confidence and knowing that they can play and knowing that they can play with the ranked people. You know, the first weekend we went out to Lufkin, and it was our first games, and most people had already played 3 or 4 games, and that's kind of what we looked like. We were just kind of trying to find ourselves and see what was going to work for us. And we actually had a couple injuries out there, and when we went to Kansas, we were 1 starter short, and so I sure didn't know how we would respond to that. But, you know, it looked like we had gotten a little experience and stuff, and so we played pretty well. You know, I think our strength right now is we've got a couple good inside players, but then we've also got some balance where we're scoring from the outside. And that's what I had hoped that we could get to. And once we went to Kansas, we really found that balance where whatever they were taking away from us, you know, the other kids were stepping up and scoring. And so that's got to be the way we can play all year. That's got to be a strength for us. And so we just are really trying to build off of that.
You know, watching your numbers come through, I've never really seen anybody with a whole wagon load of points and nobody else had nothing. It seems to me like this is a team that you've got some multiple threat capabilities, and really it becomes very tough to defend a team that can play that way.
It's exactly right. You know, going into this weekend, we had 4 kids that were averaging double figures, and, you know, 2 post players and 2 guards. And then there's a couple others that are capable of scoring, 15 or so any given night. So that's different from what we've had in the past. You know, we've had to depend on 1 or 2 scorers, and when they weren't on, you know, we really struggled. And so I think that's going to be huge for us all season. Is you know, even if one of these kids is struggling, somebody else is there to pick them up. And so it's kind of fun, and having that inside-outside balance too. You know, I think is we've got some good 3-point shooters, and then we've got Kelsey and Lauren inside that are playing really tough. So we're pleased with where we're at.
You talked about a little bit about this past weekend, and that was, of course, that pre-conference tournament down in Midland. Scouter's row, if you will, and you want to get scouted, it's a good time to get done because you're going to get scouted in a pre-conference tournament. You guys played pretty well in that tournament, though, I thought, overall. Talk a little bit about that field.
I was pleased with it, you know, and you're right. I watched every game and just sat up there and drew up everybody else's plays, and I know everybody was doing the exact same thing. So, you know, it's kind of a good thing as far as scheduling wise, but then, you know, we're going to have to play those 3 teams that we played for a 3rd time once we get them twice in conference. So there's some good and some bad, but you know, as far as we took off Thanksgiving, and so our first game in this tournament against Western Texas, I thought we were a little ragged, just kind of getting back into game mode and everything, and you know, played well enough to win. Against New Mexico, we actually played pretty well, and they played great, and so I'll be anxious to see if they can match that again. I mean, they shot over like 56% in the second half and played really, really well, and I know they can be really good, but you know, it's hard to shoot that well every single night. And then to bounce back against Howard, you know, that's kind of a rival and everything. And so again, just thought we came out and you know, you always want to respond after a loss and try to finish that off. And so I was again pleased with the way we played. I know we took it into overtime and then pretty much led the whole overtime, and so finished off with the win. So I was proud of the weekend.
Basketball schedule is kind of a funny animal because you get going in November, you have your scrimmages in October, you play through November, you hit Thanksgiving, you take time off. You play a little bit, then you hit Christmas, you take time off. Good news is you've got a pretty decent field of games between that Christmas holiday and where you've got to start conference play.
Exactly. You know, we'll come back there at the end of December, and then we'll go out to Arizona, and we have 3 games out there. And that's we'll practice several times, but it's a great way just to play ourselves back into shape. And it's going to be some tough competition. I mean, those teams they kind of practice throughout the holidays. Those kids usually live in that area, and so it always gets us ready, gets us back in game mode before we come back and get ready to start conference.
And we've talked about this before as well. the thing about it is you get to run those games without the school clock running. And that changes things, especially for the kids. You don't have the pressure of homework, what you've got to worry about during the week while you're on a long road trip. Got to be a nice way to do that big road trip.
It is, and that way we can practice. It's not that we spend so much time over here, but just get them over here and shoot. We'll practice once and then come back and shoot, or just come back and shoot free throws. I mean, we can spend a lot of time over here, and for sure watching video, whether we video practice or some of these previous games and stuff. So we can spend a lot of time at it because, like you said, they're not doing anything else, and so. But it really helps our preparation and everything to get going for conference.
Seems like it's the other thing about basketball is it seems like you just get going and all of a sudden you're on a downhill slope and you're headed for home. Not much time right now between now and when conference gets cranked up.
That's exactly right. We're going to practice a couple of days this week before we start finals next week, and so just to kind of add a few things and just to kind of stay sharp a little bit. And then we'll definitely encourage them to work out some over the holidays. That's always a challenge, but some of them will, and they'll do some things and everything. Of course, they're not going to come back in as good a shape as they're leaving in, but you expect that. And if they'll do a few things, we can get it back going pretty quick.
All right, Coach. Any final thoughts for us before we let you go today?
No, I appreciate you coming out and everything. We're excited about where we're at and looking forward to the conference season. All
right, Coach. Good to visit with you. We'll look forward to catching up with you again next time. And between now and then, best of luck to yourself and Lady Texans.